What's up, combatants? Welcome to another installment of the complete history of Mortal Kombat. In my last video, we took a look at the MKX comics and covered the events that caused the Reiko Accords. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 5-year gap of missing storyline between the end of the MKX comics and the present-day MKX story. But before we do, if you enjoy learning more about Mortal Kombat lore and story, then head on over to my channel, MK Temple, subscribe and click the bell to get notifications every time a new video posts. But enough of all that, let's get on with the video. Between the Mortal Kombat X comics and Mortal Kombat X present-day storyline, there is a large gap with a few unanswered questions. The storyline was planned for a second series of the MKX comics, but sadly DC Comics decided to discontinue the comics, and a second series was never published, leaving MK fans with a huge cliffhanger and a gap in the Mortal Kombat lore. Now, NetherRealm Studios has never officially confirmed this storyline, but Mortal Kombat writer Shawn Kittleson did give us some insight of which he intended to happen during the time between the MKX comics and Mortal Kombat X. Kittleson has appeared in a few interviews, made some tweets, and even snuck in some MK11 intro dialogue referencing these events.
Did Goro become Onaga's vessel?
Yes, and he nearly scorched Outworld.
Has Onaga's power tempted you?
In fact, he was featured on a video for History Behind the Warrior, talking about the Lost storyline. I've included a link to that video in my description if you'd like to check that out. I've also made some of my own minor speculations as to how this could fit into the present day storylines. So there were two main story beats after the Mortal Kombat X comics had ended, those being the Lin Kuei rebuilding tournament and Goro dropping off Kenshi at Dagon's door, wanting to know more about the Dragon King. Both would eventually intertwine, and according to Shawn Kittleson, the story would go as follows. Sub-Zero took Frost under his wing as his new apprentice. Frost, coming from a harsh childhood and upbringing, saw Sub-Zero as someone she could look up to in her life, and the Lin Kuei gave her purpose. Being a cryomancer like Sub-Zero, they shared the same ancestors and developed a plutonic connection with each other. While Sub-Zero held the tournament to decide who would be worthy of Lin Kuei, Goro, still armless, joined the tournament alongside some Red Dragon members. Sub-Zero could not stop Goro or the Red Dragon from entering, as he was bound by ancient rules to allow all comers to enter the tournament. Now, Goro sought out the Red Dragon due to their knowledge of Onaga and his ability to regrow limbs. In this timeline, Sub-Zero was tasked with guarding the last known dragon egg, which held the power of Onaga. Sub-Zero was charged with keeping the egg in cold storage for safekeeping to prevent it from hatching. Goro and the Red Dragon devised a plan to obtain the egg and hatch it. Knowing that they were up to something, Sub-Zero asked Frost for her help. Frost gained the trust of her Sifu Sub-Zero, which she valued greatly. Eventually, Goro and the Red Dragon infiltrate the Dragon Egg chamber, but Frost is there to stop them. Goro takes on Frost and beats her nearly to death in an intense battle. Sub-Zero arrives just in time to save her, but at the cost of the egg. Goro obtained the egg and uses his fire abilities to heat it up, probably with his mouth, seeing as he still doesn't have his hands. The egg hatches and the energy within beams into Goro, much like it did Reptile in his Deadly Alliance ending. Goro not only regrows his arms, but also a pair of wings and more. Goro's body twisted and turned as he transforms into Onaga, the Dragon King. Onaga and the Red Dragon return to Dagon, where they plotted to march into Outworld, usurp Kotal Khan, and take revenge on the Shogun for how they treated Goro. Dagon sent Onaga and his Red Dragon into Outworld, but he himself had his own agenda. Much like the storyline from Armageddon, Dagon and his brother Taven were still bound to compete with each other to prevent the Armageddon prophecy. Dagon was locked in a constant search for his brother to kill him before his awakening. Sub-Zero felt ashamed for having lost the Dragon Egg to Goro, putting the realms at risk yet again. Sub-Zero contacted Raiden and told him of the news. Raiden told Sub-Zero that Kenshi was the key to defeating Onaga and the Red Dragon, but if you recall, Kenshi was currently the Red Dragon's prisoner, being held at their stronghold. Sub-Zero embarked on a solo mission to free Kenshi, while Raiden and Frost gathered allies to travel to Outworld and assist Kotal Khan and Shiva. After being tortured and imprisoned for some time, Kenshi had learned some top-secret intel from the Red Dragon. This could be because he overheard them, or maybe he was able to read their minds with his psychic abilities. Kenshi knew the only way to defeat Onaga was to bind his soul to the Netherrealm after killing him. He could do this with the help of his sword, Sento, which contained the souls of his ancestors. Sub-Zero was successfully able to break Kenshi free from the Red Dragon's stronghold. Together they traveled to Outworld to take on Onaga. In the height of an epic battle, Onaga took on Kenshi, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Kotal Khan, Shiva, Frost, and presumably some Special Forces and Lin Kuei members. In the end, Sub-Zero and Frost expended all of their energy to freeze Onaga, allowing Kenshi the time he needed to plunge his sword Sento into Onaga's heart. Some of Kenshi's ancestors within Sento sacrificed themselves to drag Onaga's soul down into the Netherrealm, where Onaga was met by Quan Chi. And that's the last we hear of Onaga. Kittleson never mentions if this is also what kills Goro or if Goro met his fate another way. When Onaga was killed in Deception, Reptile was transformed back to normal and was still alive. The same could be said for Goro. If this did kill Goro, then I would assume this final battle took place on Shang Tsung's island in Goro's lair, as that's where we last see Goro's final resting place upon his throne in MK11. If this is not the case, then there is still some missing storyline to be told. In the aftermath of battle, Kotal Khan is extremely unhappy with Sub-Zero, Raiden, and Earthrealm for letting this happen. This plants seeds of distrust between Outworld and Earthrealm that is expanded upon even further in Mortal Kombat X's present-day story. The Earthrealm warriors return home, and Kenshi, now freed, is finally able to return back to Takeda. Now this is where we see the scene where Kenshi and Takeda are reunited in MKX. Hanzo Hasashi and Takeda were on a training exercise within city ruins. Takeda passes the exercise, and Hanzo promotes him to Shujin. When Takeda asks what the clan has in store for him next, Hanzo replied that his future did not lie with the Shirai Ryu.
When I took you in, I promised your father.
I don't have a father.
Yes, you do. One who's proud of you. A Chujin in record time.
You knew he was coming?
It was at this time that Kenshi made his appearance, telling Takeda how proud he was of his son. But Takeda felt abandoned by his father, who left him in the care of the Shirai Ryu for a better half of a decade. Takeda got out his frustration by attacking and defeating Kenshi. Eventually Hanzo stepped in, telling Takeda that Kenshi did not abandon him, but instead was on a mission to search for his mother's killers.
Kenshi did not abandon you. He brought you here for your protection.
Protection from what?
From those who murdered your mother.
Kenshi revealed that he had told Hanzo to tell him that his mother died in an accident, to protect Takeda from seeking revenge. Kenshi admitted that it was his fault Shuchin had died. Kenshi then revealed his telepathic abilities to Takeda, telling him it is a family gift, and that with proper training, he too could learn. Takeda and Kenshi restarted their father-son relationship from square one. Takeda then joined the Special Forces, and together with Kenshi, they would start their mission to take down Suchin's murderers, the Red Dragon. After helping Kenshi and noticing his ties with Hanzo and the Shirai Ryu, Sub-Zero and Frost had a discussion about whether or not it was okay for the Lin Kuei to trust the Shirai Ryu clan. Both clans were the deadliest of enemies in the past, but now were under new leadership and fighting for the side of good. Sub-Zero invited Hanzo Hasashi to the Lin Kuei headquarters for tea. Sub-Zero claimed that both clans, now starting anew, are fighting for the side of good and should make peace with one another.
You re-establish the Shirai Ryu, as I reform the Lin Kuei. We both seek to shed our clan's dark pasts, dedicate them to Earthrealm's protection. Our common purpose gives us a chance to end old rivalries, to start anew.
Hanzo claimed that the Lin Kuei's hands were drenched in Shirai Ryu blood, to which Sub-Zero replied the Lin Kuei had lost their honor. Sub-Zero told Hanzo of the Cyber Initiative and how he vowed to restore the honor of the newly reformed Lin Kuei. Upon offering Hanzo tea, Frost attacked Hanzo, prompting a fight between Hanzo and Sub-Zero. After Hanzo defeated Sub-Zero, Frost sprung another attack, but was stopped when Sub-Zero froze her. Confused, Scorpion asked what this was, and Sub-Zero explained that Frost is strong but lacks judgment when it comes to the wisdom of peace, and that he will discipline her later. Sub-Zero then took Hanzo within his temple and showed him a preserved memory from Sector's database. The memory revealed that Quan Chi was the one who killed Hanzo's clan in a deal with the Lin Kuei.
The Lin Kuei need to abide their agreements, Sector. The Grand Master gave Shinnok his word.
Shinnok's currency is lies, as is yours.
Payment is due. I exterminated the Shirai Ryu as promised.
Hanzo Hasashi lives. He's your Spectre Scorpion.
Sub-Zero revealed that if he had known the Lin Kuei's position on their deal with Quan Chi, his history with Hanzo would have been different. Hanzo Hasashi and Sub-Zero made peace between the clans, and together they decided Quan Chi was the real enemy at hand. Now there is still one more story beat to cover before we get to the Mortal Kombat X present day story. That beat being, how does Mileena obtain Shinnok's amulet? If you remember from my last video, Kano and his Black Dragon allies were placed in Kotal Khan's dungeon. After the conflict was over, Kotal turned Kano over to the Special Forces. Sonya also volunteered to keep Shinnok's amulet safe, locked away in Special Forces custody where no one could get to it. Sometime between then and Mortal Kombat X's present-day story, Kano managed to break free from the Special Forces custody, steal Shinnok's amulet, and replace it with an exact duplicate. This is all the info we're given for this heist. Later on, Kano sold the amulet to Mileena and began supplying both Mileena and Kotal Khan with black market weapons from Earthrealm, profiting off the Outworld Civil War. And there you have it, the lost storyline of the Mortal Kombat timeline, filling in the gaps between Mortal Kombat X comics and Mortal Kombat X. In my next video, we will finally be going over the present-day Mortal Kombat X storyline with the return of Shinnok. Hey, if you liked what you saw here and you'd like to learn more about Mortal Kombat lore and story, then head on over to my channel MK Temple, subscribe and click the bell to get notifications every time a new video posts, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.